Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to the channel. As always, first of all, it's Friday. It's Friday, as we've just been discussing before we came online. So, what a week it's been. But if you're new to the channel, as always, please make sure you subscribe. As I said yesterday, YouTube have changed the algorithm. So we need as many people, if you're here as part of the live or if you're here after the live stream, to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Theo, how you doing, first of all? How's things?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a really busy work week. That's why I wasn't able to record alongside you earlier in the week. So pleased it's Friday. I feel like this is as soon as you enter this kind of like September, October period, it feels like it's back to school with work in a way as well.
Yeah.
So looking forward to the weekend. And I've actually got the John Obi Mikel episode with Oscar downloaded to listen to this afternoon. I know you've listened to it, but I just feel like I'm excited for that one because Oscar's a player. I'm going to say he's underrated. And I also feel like he was never very vocal in terms of interviews, or he didn't really share much about his experience leaving Chelsea at Chelsea or leaving Chelsea to go to Shanghai. So I'm really looking forward to what he's got to say. But yeah, looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to another round of Premier League fixtures. And how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good like you. It's been a busy week of just chaos and mayhem as always. But it's good when you get to the point where you know that Chelsea are either going to enjoy or make you enjoy the weekend, or they're going to let you down. and you're going to be sat here on a Sunday morning wishing that you didn't bother watching the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday against Liverpool, which we'll talk about later. But no, I'm good. I'm good. There's a lot to unpick in this episode. So again, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you head over to YouTube and give your thoughts over there as well. But let's start with the game midweek. I would say it was a game that we potentially were expected to win. Some might disagree with that. But Chelsea versus Benfica, 1-0. Mourinho back at his home. What was your thoughts? Let's talk about the lineup first of all. No real surprises, I don't think, if I can remember correctly, in terms of the lineup. But what was your thoughts on the game, the lineup, and the performance overall?
I think maybe they were like the odd surprises. Was it Tyreek George again as the false nine?
Yeah.
Buonanotte got his third start for Chelsea. Garnacho preferred over Gittins. Badiashile making his first start since I think the game against Palmeiras or Fluminense, I think at the Club World Cup. I think actually it was last time he started a game for Chelsea was against Benfica at the Club World Cup, which was back in end of June time. But no, I think in terms of the game itself, again, not thrilling, not very inspiring, I feel. I mean, we only won narrowly via an 18th minute own goal. Quickly talk about that goal. I thought it was a really good cross from Pedro Neto, which reached Alejandro Garnacho. And then obviously his cross into the box forced the Benfica centre-back, Richard Rios, into poking it into his own net. But the game in itself was scrappy. I felt it was very stop-start. It kind of lacked fluidity, particularly in that second half. And again, we're going to talk about it in a bit, but discipline still being a big issue with João Pedro sent off in stoppage time, second yellow. So that's 2 yellows after he came off the bench. He didn't even start the game. It's 2 yellows after he came off the bench. And yeah, there were obviously tensions in the crowd of the Benfica fans and Enzo Fernandez, having previously played for Benfica. I'm not sure it was probably kind of caught on camera, but he actually went up towards the Benfica fans to take a corner, and I think he was clapping them almost to show his appreciation for them. And then they started just throwing cups and lighters and beers all over him. And I think Mourinho had to intervene to calm the crowd down. I mean, let's talk about the positives from the game. The win fixes a bit of momentum for our Champions League kind of campaign after a bit of a rough start a few weeks ago in Bavaria. And Chelsea did show a bit of grit to see it out and kind of hold on to the 1-0 lead, which is something we haven't been able to do against Brighton and against a few other teams recently. But I still feel like there are some concerns. The performance was not convincingly tactically once again. And I still feel like we remained so vulnerable defensively. Same kind of issues we're seeing against Bayern Munich, where just a one pass would just almost cut through our defence. And we were kind of found with our backs to goal. And all of a sudden we had the Benfica wingers or striker with kind of very kind of good opportunity to score a goal or cross it into a dangerous position. But yeah, like I said, the red card underscores a growing disciplinary trend for us. And one thing I do want to also point out in terms of positives is I'm a huge fan of him, but Benfica striker Vangelis Pavlidis, he's really, really good. He's a man in form at the moment. He's scoring for fun in the Portuguese league. Scored a hat-trick against Barcelona last season in the Champions League. And both him and both Chalobah and Badiashile, I thought, did a pretty good job at nullifying his threat. We didn't really see much of him with the ball. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we managed to get the 3 points. That's what matters. But the manner we got it was probably still not as convincing as you'd hope, especially at home in the Champions League, with the kind of anticipation, the kind of I'm sure you got to see the pre-match build-up with the fireworks and
Yeah.
the fire kind of like confetti and all of that, and the tifo in the shed. And I feel like that kind of display deserved a bit more of a lights out performance from this Chelsea team, which we probably didn't really get to see. But yeah, 3 points is what matters. And now we find ourselves slightly more optimistic going into that game against Ajax, who got absolutely thrashed by Marseille, might I say.
Yeah, it was a 4-0 thrashing in Marseille for Ajax. We're now currently 18th in the Champions League table at the moment. Obviously, the defeat and a win, defeat to Bayern Munich, a win against Benfica. I feel like this was a perfect time to probably play Benfica because obviously we know that Bruno Lage was there before. Jose had come in. I think he'd done well in these 2 domestic games. I think he'd had 2 before we played him in the Champions League beforehand. So there are still tweaks I think Mourinho wants to get in his team. And you could see it slightly on Tuesday that, he wanted to get his team to play in a certain way, probably hit us on a counter-attack. But I agree with you, Pavlidis is probably one of the players that I essentially did have to score a goal against us in my accumulator, my bet builder on the midweek game. But Chalobah, Badiashile, I'm going to go back to my original point I probably made a couple of weeks ago. I think when you swap and change your centre backs, you're always going to find that inconsistency. And playing Malagusto instead of Reece James, it's not a settled back four, is it? And I think you're always going to find someone's going to be prone to a mistake because of that. They're just not used to playing with each other, and you do need a calmness at the back. And you never really get that with us, do you? You always feel when that ball comes over the top, or like you said, it's easy to play for us, that one simple pass through, it's too easy. You do think could lead to a goal here. And we know that Robert Sanchez isn't the greatest in goal as much as he puts on a good performance. And, I actually thought he'd done really well on Tuesday as well. We have to credit him. I want to ask you about Tariq George because he was up front again. Didn't really look comfortable in that first half. I think he was subbed just after half time in the second half. But it's not working. It's not working. What's the solution? Because we know that Marc Gui is obviously included in the Champions League squad. We talk about him in a bit more detail later on. But just in terms of Tariq George, I sort of feel sorry for him a little bit. I spoke about him yesterday, and it's hard to criticise someone that's been put in a position where they don't clearly look naturally like they're going to add any quality to the team. But what do you think about Tariq George as the number 9?
I mean, Tariq George he's a winger. He's not a number 9. I don't know if Maresca sees something in training that makes him think he can play in this number 9 position. But from what we've seen in a couple of games where he's played in that false 9, is that he does struggle. He does really struggle to kind of have an impact on the game. I don't even remember him much, kind of like touching the ball much in that Benfica game. He had that big chance. I think it might have been in the second half, the first half, where he almost just toe pokes it towards Trubin. It was a bit of he does well to take it first time, but he just needs to put a bit more power on it, or maybe place it a bit better. But what I just don't understand is Marc Gui was recalled from his loan from Sunderland, arguably to be cover for João Pedro after Liam Delap's injury. But from what I've seen so far, it seems like he's dropped a third choice behind João Pedro, Tariq George, and then there's Marc Gui. So maybe Maresca, that's the kind of his preferred kind of way that he wants to play tactically. But like I said, what we've seen as Chelsea fans, or when I've been at Stamford Bridge for the games against Brighton, against Benfica, is he's not cut out to be a number 9. He's still very, very young, so he will improve. But I just think play him in his natural position if you are going to play him, which is as a winger. And even as a winger, from what I gathered as well, it's like we were so close to joining Fulham on deadline day. So I don't know if this is like a last chance saloon for him to prove what he can do as a striker. And if he's not cut out to be a striker, he'll be sold again in January. But I don't know. It seems like it's just I'm struggling to kind of really understand Maresca's decision making in persisting in playing him as a false 9.
He is an interesting one because I think I agree with you. He definitely doesn't look comfortable as the number 9. I think he's shown that now in a couple of games. There was a league game. Was it Man United he came on? Was it Manchester United he came on? And
Lincoln
as well. Yeah. And he just doesn't look comfortable. I said yesterday he's just out there to get a bit of cardio, get some mileage in his legs, and I feel sorry for him. But I think part of that is maybe because the club do want to sell him in the winter window or even the summer, and maybe you've got to just keep him on the radar. Maybe you've got to keep him in the the forefront of of potential clubs' minds so they can see what he can do. Maybe that's what it is, but I just think don't shoehorn him in. You can get away with it maybe against Benfica when you've got someone like Neto who's, working well on the right side and Caicedo who's cleaning up in the midfield. But if you used to do that on Saturday against Liverpool, I'm pretty sure there'd be a lot more frustration from the fans, especially if you go on to lose that game. So it is worrying. It is worrying, I think, for me personally. But Mourinho back at Stamford Bridge, he had a lot to say before the game. He sort of spoke very, I'd like to say, openly and candidly about the club that he once won the Premier League with more than one occasion. What was your thoughts on Mourinho, first of all, coming back? And do you feel like the game was almost overshadowed a little bit by Mourinho's return? And do you reckon that played a bit into the occasion on the night as well?
I think the build-up of the game was definitely overshadowed by Mourinho's kind of homecoming back to Stamford Bridge. But as soon as the whistle blew for kickoff, I feel like all focus was on Chelsea getting the 3 points. And there were a few chants from the Chelsea fans as our Stamford Bridge on Tuesday night, and we were chanting his name. And it was nice to see him after the game say that the reception he got from the Chelsea fans and the atmosphere that he was welcomed with at Stamford Bridge was something he'll remember for the rest of his life and he'll never forget, which is always nice because I think a lot of people kind of in between that second stint at Chelsea and where Mourinho is now, there was obviously that spell at United for him, the spell at Tottenham. But I think it's nice that now we're just able to appreciate Mourinho more and watch him from a distance in the Portuguese league. And like I think you correctly said, it was probably the right time to play Benfica and Mourinho because probably still hasn't had time to properly implement what he wants. I think he only had the one league game before this Champions League tie. But yeah, he made it clear before kickoff and before the game that he wanted to prove something, or at least he wanted to make a statement, which is, it's correct because he's the manager of Benfica. And he said he's a Red now, which also makes sense. Yeah. He's the manager of Benfica, but he did show a lot of love and passion for Chelsea. And I still think it's quite. I think I was asked by my dad, which club do you think Mourinho holds dearest in his heart? I think it's probably a mix of Inter Milan and Chelsea, I would say, those two. So I think he's definitely very. He's still very loved at Chelsea. We saw that when he was welcoming all the staff around Stamford Bridge, giving them big hugs, high-fiving them. And even like when Maresca was doing his interview, there's still that picture in the press conference room in the Drake suite of Mourinho lifting the four fingers family league titles he's won, which is quite an iconic picture as well. But no, definitely nice for him to come back to Stamford Bridge, and there's no hard feelings from me as a Chelsea fan for Mourinho. And I'll probably definitely place him, if not the best, but definitely one of the best managers that the club's ever had.
I'd have to agree. I think he's definitely, we know he's up there. He's one of the best. He definitely changed, I think, and we're talking from probably our time as well as Chelsea fans. He definitely changed the landscape of what the expectations were at Chelsea. He came in, originally dubbed himself the special one, and I think he still holds that title. Even when he comes back to Stamford Bridge. I get it. He's definitely a legend at the club, but I do think it took maybe a bit away from, like you said, the pre-match build-up was all about Mourinho. Even after the game was all about Mourinho, and I think it should be in some ways. But I do think there's a hint of what's the word? But there's Enzo Maresca's the manager. Let's back the club. Let's get the 3 points out of the way. Let's get the win, and then let's do all the sort of let's do all the sort of nostalgic feeling.
Nostalgia loving, yeah.
Let's do all that after the game. I'd rather do that. Just before we move on to Mark, we spoke about it this morning, but we've got to stop this. When we score a goal, let's not have the music playing. I want to hear the banging of Matthew Harden. I want to hear it. I don't want to hear music when we score a goal. This is not Real Madrid, and like you said, it's not Bayern Munich. I don't want to hear that. What do you think about it? I mean, I think it happened I'm sure it happened at the Brighton game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was at both games. I can't remember if it happened at Brighton or if it's just going to be like a Champions League thing or if it's fully implemented now. But for anyone listening who isn't aware of this, as soon as the ball was put in the back of the net by the Benfica defender for the Chelsea goal, it was, I think, the Fratelli's Chelsea Dagger.
Yeah.
Snippet of that song that started to play. And it got the crowd going. But then I kind of paused and said to myself, wait, is this new? What's going on, And again, it just emphasizes kind of Bowley's Americanization of the Stamford Bridge and Chelsea and almost wanting to turn it into an entertainment business, to get the crowd going, to cheer for the team, to play music, almost like a pre kind of match show, or I don't know, in the NBA, every time someone player scores a bucket, there's like music playing or
Yeah.
kind of like a sound effects noise. Like you said, I think Bayern Munich had it when they scored 3 past us. They had that typical kind of Bavarian little tune that kind of is blasted out around the Allianz. So yeah, but I still feel like keep that out of the Premier League for me. Just keep that in American sports, keep that in other stadiums, but not at Stamford Bridge, not in the Premier League. But sadly, I think the kind of average Chelsea fan going to Stamford Bridge now probably likes that. Because they're kind of, they're there to watch football, to watch Premier League, and not just solely to focus on watching Chelsea as a club itself. So, but yeah, I'm not really a fan of all of that myself. Even the fireworks and all that beforehand, I did like it. It was a bit of a spectacle, but I don't want to be seeing that every single match. Just keep it for the special occasions, perhaps.
Yeah, Villa do something similar now. I've noticed Villa have turned into that sort of club where they've got the tifo and they had like claret and blue fireworks and all. And it's like, I think it kind of been, it must have been the last game they played. Was it Fulham? I think they played Fulham at the weekend, just gone. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they had it for that game. And I was just like, and they had it in the Club World Cup. I'm sure they had that music, when you score a goal. I'm sure they had it in the Club World Cup as well. So I think you're right. I think it's more, we'll probably see it in the World Cup in America in a couple of months as well, but keep it at the game. Let's hear Matthew Hardy. We want to hear the banging of Stamford Bridge. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. But Mark Gui, we sort of touched on him earlier on. Lack of game time. Maresca's come out today and said that there will be minutes for Maresca, for Mark Gui at some point throughout this season. I sort of looked into this yesterday, and I think we spoke about it when we recorded him, that he potentially can only go back out on loan should he not sign should he not play for us this season. What's your thoughts? Because if he does play for us and the winter window opens and then we do end up trying to sign a striker, or we've got Liam Delap back, we've got João Pedro, could you see a permanent sell potentially in the winter window? I mean, that would only be the only option if we don't want to keep him.
I mean, for me, it's just too big of a risk, because we've seen that Tyreek George, we spoke about it a couple of minutes ago, that's not worked out. João Pedro can't play every single minute of every single game up until December. Mark Gui needs to get minutes, and he needs to get them soon. We've got a busy October period. We've got games like Sunderland. We've got games like Wolves in the Cup away from home. These are games that Gui needs to have an impact on. And let's also remember, João Pedro was brought in not to be on number 9, but to be almost like that player who plays behind the 9, which is what Maresca indicated, at having both Liam Delap and João Pedro on the pitch at the same time. So he needs to play soon. He's our only natural number 9, unless maybe Shim Maheka gets some game time soon as well. But I actually feel for him, because he started off quite well at Sunderland. He seemed to slowly become kind of almost really liked by the Sunderland fans after scoring that goal against Huddersfield in the Cup.
Yeah.
But since his recall, he's been handed not a single minute in competitive games. And at the start, I think Maresca implied that his training performances have not yet justified game time. And he said he's working well, but this week he has worked very, very good, much better compared to the first weeks he was back. So I think maybe Maresca, he's slowly getting into Maresca's plans. And obviously the coach also defended the position that that development isn't only about match time. So maybe one of the ideas of bringing him back was also having him train with the first team, get exposure, and hopefully able to adapt to play regularly in the Premier League. But we see what this Chelsea business model is like now. It's ruthless. If a player doesn't really get game time, if a player is seen as a sellable asset, they will be sold. So I think there's 3 possibilities in January. There is, he gets loaned out again because he hasn't played a single minute for us. He gets sold permanently because he hasn't played a single minute for us, and we want to make a profit on him, and we feel like maybe he's at the best time for us to sell him, and maybe we want to invest that money in another number 9. Or there's option 3, which I hope is the case, and he gets game time and he's able to show that he can be a suitable cover for Liam Delap, and maybe even compete with Liam Delap. Because let's remember, we were crying out for his name this time, like last season, or when I think Palmer was injured, when Jackson was injured, I think around from February to April time. And then unfortunately he had a really bad injury that kept him out until pretty much the end of the season. So, but yeah, it's just baffling. Like, why recall a player if you're not going to play him at all? And it's not just been 1 or 2 games now, it's been a month. And at times he's not even featured on the bench as well, which is a bit of a worrying sign.
I think it's a weird one. I think if you know you need a goal and you're under the cosh, or things just aren't tactically working out, and you've got a natural number 9 and you're putting Tariq George on, it speaks volumes for me. I think that in a way it tells me that one, Maresca either doesn't think he's good enough to play number 9, or it is maybe someone from upstairs saying, actually, if you play him, we're going to have to sell him, or we're going to have to, he's not going to feature in your plans going forward. So is there a bit more of a like a political thing going on upstairs with the owners and the sporting directors to say, actually, you can't play him, don't play him, because it feels like a bit like one of those, those loan plays that you get, that if you play them 20 times a season, you actually then have to activate the club. It feels like one of those moments that, I remember years ago, there was some players that, they get to like 18 games and suddenly they just wouldn't feature again. And it feels a bit like that. So I hope it isn't. I hope, because he's a good player. I mean, we have to remember he's still young. But if you're asking me who am I playing, tomorrow, if we need a goal and not, João Pedro comes off injured or he just can't feature in the game, who would you start? Mark Gui, or would you start Tariq George? You're always going to pick the natural number 9. So I just can't for the life of me think why he's not even getting minutes. It'd be interesting if he doesn't get minutes against someone like Ajax or Karabag, or even a Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, as you said. I mean, those are games where, you'd expect him to at least get a run out if the opportunity comes about.
Yeah, so you mentioned Karabag there. They won both their Champions League games so far. That's going to be a tough fixture, actually. I'm looking back, but no, I completely agree. And it's not even a question of like, playing it. He hasn't even played, so at least give him a chance to prove what he can do as well. Yeah. And I think the times that he did play last season in the Conference League, especially, he was scoring for fun. Yeah. I'm sure that's a lower kind of quality of opposition, and no disrespect to the Conference League, but it was. But yeah, give him a chance. Give him a chance against those teams you mentioned. And if things aren't going to plan, it's 0-0 or 1-0 down against Liverpool, against Forest after the international break, and João Pedro picks up an injury or was fatigued or picks up another red card, who knows? Play Mark Gui. Play him. You've got nothing to lose at this stage. He trains every day at Cobham to be a number 9. Play him. And he comes from La Masia, one of the best academies in the world, who have produced top talent like Pedri, Gavi, Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez.
And look at them.
Look at them. Look at where they are now. And they're young. They're the same age as Mark Gui, and they're playing week in, week out in the Champions League and La Liga. I think he's got more than it takes to play. I wouldn't say every single game, but play at least these games where we need a number 9 or to cover for the injured players.
I agree. It'd be interesting if he gets any game time on Saturday, 5:30 against Liverpool, Stamford Bridge, which we'll pick up on later on. But Maresca was also asked earlier on in his press conference today around discipline and the fact that we picked up 3 red cards, I think 9 yellow cards in our last, I think it's 4 fixtures. Is there you mentioned João Pedro earlier, picking up 2 yellows. I actually think the second one against Benfica was actually harsh. I think I get it a little bit, but I think it was quite a harsh second yellow. The first one's avoidable. I think he's just gone in with his elbow. But do you think there's a discipline issue? We spoke about this, I remember, I think it was under Thomas Tuchel, potentially, or maybe Pochettino, a couple of seasons ago, around discipline. But do you feel like there is an issue at Chelsea now?
There is, I think, an issue. I think what Maresca really needs to kind of like embed in his team is sometimes you're better off conceding a goal than getting a red card at times. And I think that's what we saw, not so much a João Pedro incident, but the 2 previous occasions. I think the first one, let's break it down, because it's 3 red cards in 4 games now.
Yep.
Robert Sanchez, what causes a red card is that little moment of hesitation where he's deciding whether he should stay on his line or if he should come out.
He's never winning the ball.
He's never winning the ball, exactly. And it's just reckless with where his foot is and how high he is and where he is outside of his box as well. And that's just a moment of stupidity from Robert Sanchez. The second red card was Trevor Chalobah against Brighton. Andre Santos plays him in danger. I think it's a poor pass from Andre Santos where he loses the ball in a poor position. But sometimes in that situation, you're not winning the ball, Chalobah. I know he's got that quality sometimes maybe to try and win the ball or put in a great tackle, but it's such a risk. Maybe 95% of the time you're winning the ball in that situation. And then 95% of the time you're not winning the ball, and the other rest of the time you're going to get a red card. And that's what we saw. So maybe at times like that, just let them score the equaliser and then regroup, have that quality, maybe have those players that come off the bench, those attacking players that weren't able to come off the bench as a result, and try to fight for the win. And João Pedro, it's unfortunate because I think the second yellow for me, unfortunately, it is a yellow card in today's game. I don't agree with it, but it is a yellow card when your foot's that high and you're endangering a player. It is a yellow card, and we saw. I think it was in Monaco, Man City yesterday. I think the penalty that Monaco won at the very end of the game. I think Dyer gets like a boot to the face, or it comes close to hitting his face, and Monaco win the penalty. But we do know that João Pedro is a bit of a hothead as well. We've seen it at Brighton, so that's hopefully something Maresca needs to get him to calm down a bit on. Especially he's come on as a substitute. We're winning 1-0. Just see the game out.
It makes it worse, doesn't it?
Don't do anything stupid. It should be like Maresca's like last words as he's coming on the pitch. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that we need to control. But there's something else that frustrates me even more is previous Chelsea sides would go down to 10 men and we'd still have enough in us to kind of see the game out, hold on to a draw. We saw it, I think it was in Liverpool at Anfield when Reece James got sent off.
Yeah.
We defended valiantly to get a 1-1 draw in that game. I think Edouard Mendy, Thiago Silva, Rudiger were absolutely immense. We maybe don't have that quality of players now. But even a year or two ago under Pochettino, we went down to 10 men with Gallagher against Brighton.
Yeah.
And we still were able to, I think, score another goal, go 3-1 up. And then I think we won 3-2, but we still got 3 points. So there shouldn't be anything to say that we can't hold on to leads or get something out of games with 10 men. And that's the part that frustrates me more. And a culprit here is also Maresca, because some of the substitutions he makes or how he tweaks the formation after going down to 10 men is almost just like, I don't really know what to do now. Let's just park the bus or go ultra defensive. At Old Trafford, bringing off Estevao, bringing on Pedro Neto. I think against Brighton, he brings on Gusto instead of maybe a Garnacho or a Gittins.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. So I think that's something as well. Maybe he needs to kind of hold his hand up and take a bit of accountability or responsibility, and also accept that maybe went down to 10 men, but I could have done better, or I could have made better decisions to maybe get a result from that as well.
He did say that before the Benfica game. I think he was asked, and he said, he said he's still learning, which I get. I mean, this is only his third. I think he was at Leicester. I don't think he managed anywhere before that, did he? He was at Man City, I think, and then he was with West Ham with Pellegrini. So he's head coach in terms of managerial. I think it's been Leicester, 2 seasons at Chelsea. So I get he's learning, but surely you've been around enough people, some really good managers to understand that you can still win a game with 10 men. I don't think you have to throw in the towel. And let's hope he learns from it. I mean, if we were to go down, Anthony Taylor is the ref on Saturday. So there is a likelihood, very, very likelihood that there could be a red card or a penalty in that game. But, if we do go down to 10 men or, we're down to, 1-0 quite early on, still fight for the game. Don't go defensive. Don't try and think because we're 1-0 down that we can't concede again. We should be going for the game. If anything, we should want the win even more if we go 1-0 down and fight to get back to a 1-1 and then go on to get the winner. So he's got to learn. But I agree with you 100%. João Pedro has to do more on the pitch in terms of his discipline. Remember, we spoke about Nicholas Jackson when he was picking up silly yellow cards last season. You have to, in order to be able to affect the game in the right way, you've got to be on the pitch. If you're coming on as a substitute, which makes it even worse for me, you can't have been on the pitch for no longer than half an hour. To get 2 yellows, it's silly. It's silly. Whether I don't think it was a second yellow, but even the ref called it a second yellow, so it's a second yellow. But it's just silly. Use your head. Be a bit more calmer.
It's silly, and he misses the game against Ajax now, which is he's going to be kicking himself, and that's a must win as well. So really
Mark
frustrating. Well, he needs to start that one. I don't know what's going to happen between here and end of October, but for me, right, if I was picking my lineup right now for the Ajax game, Mark Gui's in it.
Yeah, he's got to be, hasn't he? He's got to be. Let's talk about some of the fixtures coming up. We've got some, I'm going to say difficult fixtures. And by that, I don't mean difficult teams, but I just think, I look at them and I think on paper, let's look at the month of October. So we've got Liverpool tomorrow, 5:30, Stamford Bridge. I think we always do a bit better at Stamford Bridge than we do at Anfield. So I'm a bit more confident, which we'll talk about shortly about that game. But Nottingham Forest, I mean, we could be the team that gets Ange Postecoglou sacked already. Apparently he's been given till November to turn things around, but the board is serious about sacking him, but they need to pick up points. That could be a tricky fixture. They might want to actually start playing for him. Ajax, as you mentioned, on the 22nd of October at Stamford Bridge. followed by another home game against Sunderland, who are high and flying in the Premier League as it stands at the moment. We then end October with the Carabao Cup, Wolverhampton Wanderers at Molineux. Just out of those fixtures, is there any that you think is there any that's winnable? Is there any that you think green tick straight away when you look at the fixtures on paper?
I think like a month or so ago, I've said like, yeah, we're going to win like 2 or 3 of these for sure. But now I've got doubts. I've definitely got doubts, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we're the first team that gives Postecoglou his first win of the season as a Nottingham Forest boss. But no, I think the ones we've got to be winning is, bar that game against Brighton, we've got a really good home record, really good home record. So I think the Sunderland game is a must-win. The Ajax game for me is a must-win as well. Carabao Cup away, I think it was this time last season where we lost to Newcastle away, where we were kind of flying high as well. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe if there's a bit of a shock there, we maybe rotate too much, or we get a bit complacent and we get knocked out. But yeah, I think Liverpool, like you mentioned, we've got a really good record against them at Stamford Bridge. Not so much against Anfield, but at Stamford Bridge, I think we haven't lost, I think, since 2021 or 2020, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Yeah, Nottingham Forest, given their form, you've got to be winning that as well. You've got to be winning that.
Don't say it. I mean, you said it right. I think first time round, I think Ange needs results very quickly, and he needs a win. I mean, they were diabolical again in Europe yesterday, but they've got to pick up points, and that's never an easy game. They've got some really good plays if they can get that team winning well, just like we have. And I think we've got a factor in. We've got a lot of injuries, and we'll have players hopefully coming back from injuries from after the international break. Fofana should be back again then as well. Cole Palmer, hopefully. Tosin.
I think I was going to mention as well, there's an international break squeezed into there to make things better or harder for us. Better in a way we could get some players back from injuries. But we also know Chelsea of international breaks, historically, we always come back from that and have a bit of
fatigue
form or a bit of fatigue, especially I think I've just seen Pedro Neto selected for Portugal, Esteval selected for Brazil, Reece James selected for
England, Gusto for France.
Gusto for France, I think Champong for the under-21s, Cucurella for Spain. So there will be a lot of Chelsea players travelling across the world. Caicedo and Enzo are likely to head to South America as well. I would not be surprised if we come back for that Nottingham Forest game. Now we're like
at least one more injury.
One more injury. Maybe Caicedo's rested because he's only travelled back from Ecuador the night before. It's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. I think on paper, some of these games are winnable, but we know what it's like when you have so many fixtures congested into 1 month that you're not going to win every single one, or you are going to drop points. So there will be a bit of a shock result somewhere in there.
And to add insult to injury, I think I used that pun the other day. Don't mean it as a pun intended. We're on at 12:30 against Forest, which makes it even worse. I sound like Jurgen Klopp. I know Jurgen Klopp used to moan about 12:30 kickoffs, but one, I'm never a big fan of 12:30 kickoffs, but two, straight after an international break, you can bet your last pound that Caicedo or Enzo is not starting that game. There's no way. They'll have flew back maybe the Thursday, Friday at best. There's no way they start the game. There's going to be rotation. Yeah. There's going to be rotation.
We don't mention his name enough in this podcast. This is when someone like Lavia needs to come in.
Yeah, I said it yesterday.
Plays football. He's back in the bench now. He came on as a cameo, I think, against Brighton. We need him because I know that fully fit Lavia, for me, really impressed me last season. Tottenham away in these type of games when he did play in that inverted kind of right back midfield role. I think he's absolutely sublime. So I'm expecting to see a lot more from guys like Badiashile, Lavia, potentially Champong, maybe Tyreek George in his natural position. Gittins needs to step up as well during this month as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's we have to see. I mean, I hope we can go through in the Carabao Cup. I think Maresca this season has to get some form of silverware, and I know we got the silverware last season, but yeah, he needs to get some form of silverware. He needs to get something because I think the pressure will be on. I think the fans will essentially want to see something from him this season. What would you take? What would you take if it was the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup? Which one would you potentially want to see?
I think if you're talking about prestige, the FA Cup's obviously a bit nicer to win than the Carabao Cup. But like, I know we won silverware last season, the Conference League and the Club World Cup. But the typical kind of English football fan probably wouldn't have had eyes on those competitions.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice maybe to win a domestic trophy. And I think if I had to pick, I'd probably speak for the majority of people. I'd like to have the FA Cup, especially in recent years. We've come so close, so far in both those competitions, actually. So yeah, it'd be nice to pick one of those trophies up this season.
I think he's got to win one. I think he has to win one of the two. I think just getting top four and going quite far in the Champions League, I don't think he's going to cut it in terms of what the owners and the hierarchy is probably expecting this season. You want to see an improvement from last season, and we ended with the Conference League and the top four. So I think if we only get top four this season, and we might get to the knockouts of the Champions League, can we really say that's progress? I don't think we can. So I think he needs to get some form of domestic silverware. He's got to get something this season, so we'll have to see. But let's move on to tomorrow, 5:30, Liverpool. The fixture that in my house causes a lot of chaos, just for obvious reasons. We have to sit on separate settees and couches, and we have to divide the living room up and everything. But Liverpool coming to town, as you said earlier, we have got a very good record against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. I think you mentioned the last defeat there was 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
September.
That was when I think Sadio Mane scored twice with a few Kepa howlers in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then I think it's been a 2-2 draw we had against them with the Kovacic screamer.
The Kovacic
goal.
That popped up on the timeline yesterday.
It's always a nice watch, isn't it? It always is.
Yeah.
And then I think after that we had that very dull 0-0 draw.
Then a 1-1.
It was that weird period where we had Bruno Solskjaer as the manager between Potter and Lampard. And then the 1-1 opening day of the season with Disasi scoring his debut. And then last season we got a 3-1 win.
Can we count that? Can we count it when they'd already won the league?
They were hungover and they were in passing mode. But I think the way we played it was still quite impressive.
Yeah, it was a good game.
So if we can replicate a bit of that, and if we can see, I think what Enzo does quite well is obviously in those type of games he's a bit more offensive and he likes to be a bit more of a pop up in the box, a bit like how Lampard used to do. That's how he got his goal against Liverpool, how he got it against Brighton as well. It will be a tough game, and I think Liverpool are probably the best team in the Premier League in the country, but they are beatable. They are beatable. We talk about our slight dip in form recently, but same can be said about Liverpool. 2 defeats on the bounce now against Palace and Galatasaray in midweek in the Champions League. And for anyone who hasn't watched the Galatasaray Liverpool highlights, Galatasaray were all over them.
Yeah.
They could have scored a couple more if it wasn't for a few really good Alisson saves or a bit more of a clinical finishing from the Galatasaray players. And a couple injury updates. I think Alisson went off injured.
Yeah, hamstring.
Hamstring against Galatasaray. So new signing Georgi Manlashvili will be in between the sticks for Liverpool. Really, really good goalkeeper. And I'm not really looking too much into that because let's remember, I think we probably played Liverpool with Kelleher more than Liverpool with Alisson in recent years, and they've always come up on top with Kelleher.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and you haven't really read much, but I think Etikite might be a doubt as well.
I think he's training today, so I think he's in contention to at least be on the bench, if nothing else.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised, but no, I think if we play our best football, and if we see the Chelsea that popped up in the Club World Cup, I always say this, but we can beat anyone on our day. But so far this season, apart from the game against West Ham, but West Ham are absolutely atrocious. We haven't actually impressed massively, I felt. So that's why I'm always hinting more towards maybe Liverpool picking up the 3 points or maybe another draw. But it's got to be said, if we do kind of show up, maybe Maresca gets this one tactically spot on, makes the right substitutions defensively, someone like Badiashile, where he's paired up with Tosin or Fofana, because Chalobah is suspended, obviously. We really hope that they kind of have a solid game to keep Isak, to keep Salah, to keep Etikite at bay. But yeah, it won't be easy. It really won't be easy.
It won't. I'm just going to reel off the injury list for Chelsea. Yeah. So give me a moment. It could be here for a while. So we've got Liam Delap, who we know is out. We know that Levi Colwell was out. Dario Asugo, Cole Palmer is out. Andre Santos is now out. Wesley Fofana is still dealing with concussion. It must have been some punch from Jurgensen to keep him out for that long, but he's out. We know that Trevor Chalobah is suspended, and also Tosin is now also apparently out of tomorrow's game. So that means we are literally light on the ground from front to back. Yeah. I mean, the thing I will say about Liverpool is they are beatable. They are beatable. You mentioned Galatasaray. You can beat them. I think Conor Bradley potentially will start maybe ahead of Frimpong. I mean, Slot got it completely wrong against Galatasaray. He played Frimpong almost as the right winger. It didn't work. I'd love him to do that again to us, because I think, the likes of Neto, if he was to play on the left, and Cucurella would have a field day against Conor Bradley, who I think is a good defender, good right back, but you can get to him. The big weakness in Liverpool is Ibrahim Konate. I think if we can attack him, literally with our attackers, we will score goals, because Van Dijk is capable of being a very good world-class defender, as we know. But when you're playing with someone like Konate, you've got to exploit him. You've got, and Robertson or Kirkes, whoever it is on the left, but Konate's got to be the weak link, and we've got to exploit that. I want to talk about set pieces, because we know that we're not the best on set pieces, or we haven't been of recent times. There's a lot of physicality in that Liverpool squad. I'm thinking of Konate, Van Dijk, Gravenberg, Szoboszlai. There's players in there now. They've got Isak, who is another threat going forward. Did you think we've got enough defensively? And we'll do our predicted lineup shortly, but have we got enough defensively to cover that and make sure that we don't concede a sloppy goal from a corner or a free kick?
It's not just like conceding a sloppy goal from a corner or free kick. It's actually like not giving away those free kicks in dangerous areas to start off, and that's what as well. But yeah, all the players you reeled off, I think they've got in their locker to be dangerous against us. They've got height as well in Isak and Etikite on set pieces from corners as well to cause issues. A Szoboszlai free kick against Arsenal, I think he's got that in his locker as well. To maybe
Salah, we haven't mentioned Salah.
Salah as well. He's an absolute special player as well. But something I can't remember the exact statistic, but I think this season we scored more goals from set pieces or from corners than we did in the entirety of like last season or something like that. And there's something I've noticed we're doing a lot more this season, which almost pays off the majority of the time, is we're always trying to almost put the ball in the back of the net from the corner. But then West Ham, we try to do this quite often, is the way I think it's Neto, whoever takes the corners, almost curls it towards the near post in a way where it's really awkward for the goalkeeper. And a Chelsea player might get there ahead of the defender to cause a bit of trouble between the goalkeeper and the defender. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that, whether it's something, maybe I think it's Bernardo Cuenca, the set piece guy we got from Brentford, has had a say in Cobham. And I think a lot more teams are doing it as well, with almost using throw-ins as set pieces as well. There's these long throw-ins we're seeing now. It seems to be a bit more of an ongoing trend. I don't know if the Brentford-Chelsea game set that precedent, or if it was people are kind of looking at old footage of Rory Delap in his Stoke days as well. But yeah, we've got to maybe utilise that if Cucurella and James can learn how to throw it far into the box, or if Liverpool have already picked up on it as well. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. And I think you mentioned Konate. I agree, he's a bit of a weak link in the Liverpool side, but at least they have two fit and eligible centre backs.
Yeah.
Right now, I can only think of one Chelsea one, and that's Badiashile.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, when we do our predicted lineups, it's going to be quite interesting. I might let you go first, so you have the harder job.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I'm guessing Sanchez is in goal.
Yeah.
I think we got to go with Sanchez in goal. I would like to see Reece James. I had a question to myself yesterday on yesterday's stream. Do you put Reece James at right centre back and trust either or Achiampong or Gusto as the right back? I feel like the game at Anfield where Reece James got sent off, I feel like he was actually playing right centre back that game. I'd love to check it, but I feel like he was.
It was back in the Tuchel days where we'd have probably played with a back three. And he might have been one of the back three, or was it Azpilicueta? And
maybe,
I'm trying to remember now. Yeah,
maybe I'll fact check it after the stream, but I'm pretty sure either or. So I think I am gonna go with Reece James right back for now, because I think we know that Maresca likes him to invert, and I don't think Achiampong can do that as well. I also don't think Malo Gusto's that good at that, especially against teams that do like to press you and counter attack. So Reece James right back, which means Achiampong right centre back. Yeah. Badiashile, I think Cucurella would be on the left side, and you'd have Badiashile left centre back. Lavia, has to start this game for me. I think we need to have Lavia in that team somewhere. Obviously, Santos would potentially have been a shout, but if he's not in it, then we can't. Caicedo has to start. I know we didn't mention this, but apparently Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and João Pedro are all playing through injuries, are having injections to get through games. So you'd think.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Caicedo against Benfica, and I think I even said to you, looks like he's playing like he's got an injury. But they would have to be in the midfield, Lavia and Caicedo. I think I'd play Enzo. I think I'd risk him. It's our last hit of the dice, last throw of the dice until the international break. So I'll play him maybe as the 10. I mean, he got to see that against in the last game. And Esteval on the right, Neto on the left, and I would play João Pedro up front if he's fully fit to start the game as the 9.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. I was actually thinking as you were kind of listing a lineup, do you maybe play Lavia as the right back? I know it was done last season, and he advanced into that midfield kind of role. He did it quite well in certain games.
He did.
Was it just too big of a gamble against Liverpool? Is it more maybe an experiment you try again, maybe
against Sunderland,
Sunderland or Wolves away? Yeah. But we're just so short on bodies in defence that we might be forced to play Achampong and Badiashile as the centre backs. I think Achampong, it was a hard job for him to come in that Brighton game.
Yeah,
10 men down, play centre back when Welbeck and Minto, Ruto, all these guys were just like ruthlessly charging towards goal. And he was at fault for the third goal that Brighton scored. But let's not remember against Palace, I thought he put on quite a good performance as right centre back. So it must be quite frustrated for him because his natural position, we spoke about Tyreek George, it is right back, and he's been forced so far this season to only play right centre back.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, given the circumstances, sometimes you have to just like make do with the people that, even if it's not the natural positions, that can fill that void for the time being. So I think I'd have to agree with your lineup. Remind me who your wingers were. Was it Neto and
Esteval? So Neto on the left, Esteval on the right. I think Enzo has to play in that 10 if we... And the only other option I think we could do is maybe you bring Esteval as the 10, you put Neto on the right, and then you put either Garnacho or Gittins on the left. But I'll be honest, I'm not impressed with Gittins. He's still early days, of course. We still need to give him time to adapt and whatever else. And Garnacho, I thought actually impressed me against Benfica. I know he was mixed emotions, but he looked good.
Yeah, or was it a game you bring Buonanotte as the 10?
I'll bring him on. I'd bring him off the bench. I think he's a player that, I think with Liverpool, I know this is going to sound stupid and probably obvious, but it's a game you've got to win. You need to start the game really well. I think if Liverpool go 1-0, 2-0, I just don't want to be embarrassed by them. I don't want it to be a hammering, which I feel it could be. I feel it could be. I can't remember the last time we played them, and we theoretically won't have a defender on the bench. Like, who's our defender that's going to come on if one of our defenders gets injured? Like, I don't think we may have to bring in Hato. Yeah, forgot about him. Yeah. Or do you play him instead of Achampong and you put Badiashile as the right-sided centre back and then Hato as the left-sided centre back?
Yeah, I think it will be Hato or Achampong, one of the two playing alongside Badiashile. I think it's just a shame because it's the type of game that really Cole Palmer would thrive in. Yeah, I feel. I know these kind of like big games we saw in Munich as well. Real shame that he's out of a groin injury. But let's just hope that I'd rather give him an extra week to recover than rush him back too soon, and maybe have him like re-injure that same injury. So hopefully after the international break, he's not picked in the England squad, and rightly so. He'll be back and ready for that Forest game. If it's not Forest, he'll be back the following week for the game against Sunderland as well.
Yeah, just reading a stat here. Liverpool have not kept a clean sheet in their last 5 matches. The same probably goes for us, to be fair. Oh, no, we did. We kept a clean sheet against Benfica.
Palace, and Fulham.
Yeah. So it doesn't.
To keep them against Lincoln and other teams recently, though.
But we'll take it. I mean, that's a good little stat to read. I mean, they have scored 8 goals in their last 5 matches. So again, they are still hitting goals in the back of the net. So it's not all doom and gloom for Liverpool. But no, this is a game where, look, the odds are against us. We know that we've got a lot of injuries. We've got a suspension to Chalobah that we could have done without. We know that Lavia is coming back from or returning to full fitness. We know that Caicedo, Enzo, and João Pedro are not at their best in terms of fitness. Missing Cole Palmer's key. So there's a lot of things to factor in. But what I don't want, and I'll ask you this, is do you feel if we don't get the win, do you feel like this will increase the pressure that I don't think should be there in the first place for Maresca, and some of the fans will probably hit panic mode a little bit more?
It will increase a bit of pressure. I mean, 3 defeats in 4 games will always kind of be a bit of a stain on your kind of records. But we do have to remember the quality of the opposition, the circumstances we're in, with the injuries as well. But I always kind of don't want to compare this Chelsea to the old Chelsea, because it's two different kind of eras in a way. But I still feel like the old Chelsea would have maybe, like, regardless of if it was Ferreira, Basingua, or God knows who playing centre back, or if we had Lampard, Terry, or Michael Essien injured, we would still manage to kind of like grind out results. So I still feel like we should be able to maybe get a result, especially at home, where I suppose we have such a good record. Don't quote me on this, but I think in the league before the Brighton game, our last defeat was Man City, start of the last season, I think. So it almost went a whole season without a home defeat. I know we lost to Legia Warsaw in the Conference League, but I almost don't account, because that was we'd won the first leg quite comfortably.
It's like a dead rubber game, wasn't it?
Yeah, a dead rubber game, exactly. So yeah, we've got a good home record. Hopefully Maresca gets it right, tactically gets the substitutions right. And even last season at Anfield, when Liverpool were flying high and we were pretty much title contenders in that period as well, we gave them a game. I remember at Anfield, it was similar time to this time last season. We gave them a game as well at Stamford Bridge. So there's nothing that says that we can't challenge this title. This Liverpool team, Galatasaray did it, Crystal Palace did it, and hopefully we can too.
And Arne Slot did say last season we were the most difficult team that he faced.
Yeah, he did.
So, I think there's something to take away from that. I'm not saying that obviously things have changed, and we just spoke about the injuries and suspensions that we've got, but there's nothing to say we can't get something out of this game. And I feel slightly disappointed in myself that I talk in that way about the club that we used to always say we are going to win that game. We went into the game with the certainty that we're going to get 3 points, and now we go into the games a bit sheepish, and we might get something from it. Those days should not be around us. We should be talking about this is Chelsea versus Liverpool. We're going to get 3 points, and we always dumb ourselves down a little bit now and say, actually, no, we've got injuries. Anthony Taylor's the ref. We might get a early good. We should be talking about smashing Liverpool to bits, but we are where we are. We're not that dominating team that you mentioned with, some greats in it like Essien. I was reading yesterday, I think a part of the live stream, about some of the attacking options we had with Eto'o and Demba Ba, Didier Drogba. Then we had, Shevchenko. We've had Crespo in there as well. Kesman was part of that. Good Johnson. We had so many brilliant strikers, and now we're talking about how and when do we start playing Mark Gui. It's crazy. It is. It's crazy. But let's end on a positive. Are we winning tomorrow? And what is the score prediction going to be?
I think I can't see us losing actually, but I can't see us winning. So I'm going to go with a draw. I think often when we play Liverpool, it's either like a 0-0 or 1-1 or 2-2. In like recent years, I feel like there's still kind of like 3 score lines really stand out. I'll go for a 1-1. I think we'll actually concede first, but maybe we'll manage to fight back, get an equaliser, and then I think both teams will almost just play for a draw after that.
In my head, I'm thinking this could be a cricket score. I generally think we're going to get. I mean, I'm being honest now. I know I've just said all what I've said, but if we're being realistic and honest, this is a really difficult fixture for Chelsea in terms of the lineups that we're going to be facing. We're facing Cody Gakpo, who I think is a brilliant player for Liverpool. Mo Salah on his day, we know what he can do. Isak, it's just a lot.
Gravenberch as well.
Gravenberch in the midfield. It's going to be a dangerous battle in the midfield. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool, and I hate that I've got to go against my team, but I just can't see us getting a win. I'd love us to, but I think on the day Liverpool they're going to want to get that Galatasaray defeat out of the system, back-to-back defeats. They're not going to want a third to go to that list of defeats. So I can't see them losing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Question: before a ball is kicked, before you know how the game plans out, right now on Friday at 1:45, would you take a draw in this game?
Shamefully, yes, I would. I would
Yeah.
because you're looking at the teams, you're looking at the injuries. I think we'd be lucky to get a draw tomorrow. I think we would, but I just can't see us winning. I can't see it. What about you?
Yeah. I'd take a draw. I would, as long as I think it's almost a question of avoiding defeat at home.
Yeah.
Take a draw against the Liverpool side, which is shameful to say as a Chelsea fan because you always want to win. But unfortunately, in the kind of circumstances we're in, I think you would take a draw. I know we've kind of spoke a bit about nostalgia recently, how this is a different era to what we were before. I'll put his tweet up after the Benfica game. Jose Mourinho has now lost as many Champions League group stage league phase games at Stamford Bridge with Benfica as he did with Chelsea. So Chelsea lost 2-1 to Basel in 2013. Mo Salah actually scoring for Basel that day.
He did.
Obviously with Benfica, he's now lost at Stamford Bridge 1-0 to Chelsea, which is crazy to think like all those group stage games that Mourinho's managed us in. Some tough games in that, probably like the odd Atletico Madrid.
There must be some decent ones.
I think he's only lost one game against Basel. We used to always say like Stamford Bridge used to be a defensive fortress under Mourinho, whereas now we're kind of like
it's open for anyone.
Who's going to partner Badiashile in defence? It's things have changed,
Oh man, it's just let's just hope we don't. All I can ask for tomorrow is we don't get. I can't walk the streets of Liverpool Sunday morning if we get embarrassed. So all I'm asking is we don't concede 5 or 6 or 7. And I guarantee if we do, you will not see me until Monday afternoon. Yeah. You won't see me or hear from me.
All I say is we got a red card against United. We got a red card against Brighton. The scores were disappointing, but they weren't cricket scores that we ended up. But if we get a red card against Liverpool, they will embarrass us.
Yeah, they will. They will.
They will. Like, talking 5-6 goals. So that's also something we need to avoid at all costs.
Yeah, agreed. But Theo, it's always a pleasure Friday. It's always a pleasure. Hopefully we don't get embarrassed. Hopefully we can come back here maybe tomorrow after the game and talk about a good performance by Chelsea. Whatever you're doing this weekend, make sure you stay out of the rain. I don't know what it's like down south, but it's absolutely hammering it down up north. So whatever you're doing this weekend, stay dry, enjoy the football. Theo, enjoy the match. I'm sure you'll be there tomorrow, 5:30. Yeah. Enjoy the game. We'll be back next week. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video. Linktree link is in the description as well. Enjoy your weekend. Let's hope for 3 points.